So I was rewatching a Shaylin Wrights video as I often do, and it was about subtext. And I realized that on this channel, we haven't really talked that much about subtext, which is kind of crazy. It's a very important topic, but also I want to actually ask a question for the writers out there because Shaylin talks about how subtext isn't really something that they think you should write on purpose. Like, it's not initially intentional. You don't write it in. It's something you kind of discover as you're writing. And I wanted to ask how people feel about that because for me, and maybe this is why I'm better at writing poetry, in my opinion, than I am at writing prose. For me, the whole purpose of writing is playing with language and playing with all of these elements in an intentional way to just have fun with meaning. So it's kind of interesting to me asking, like, maybe it's a difference between poetry and prose. Like, when you're writing poetry, you should write it with intention, with that sort of intention, rather. And when you're writing prose, it's different. I don't know. But I kind of thought that this also tied into the K-pop conversation because, I mean, K-pop lyrics are sort of poetry, so I think they kind of lean in that direction. But also there's the fact that that K-pop writers are weaving together usually two different languages. And when you're weaving together languages, you're I feel like you must be weaving in so much more than just languages. Like, you're weaving in a bunch of interesting subtext that is so interesting to talk about. Editing me here, I want to expand on this a little bit, just a little bit, because I think that subtext is actually a not a unique quality of K-pop, but a signature quality, I guess you could say, because when, like, going on with the language aspect, there is a reasoning, usually, I would believe, for why K-pop writers choose to use one language in an instance over another. And so, and there's also just the fact that not every listener is going to understand both languages. So even if something is stated explicitly, it is kind of a subtextual thing. We don't completely understand what is going on until we go into a deeper analysis. But I also want to talk about some specific tips that Shaylin provides for how to create subtext in a story. We're going to talk about it in a K-pop context, obviously. And the song I'm going to reference throughout this video is Virtual Angel by ARTMS because I think that it reflects a lot of the tips that Shaylin provides. But a lot of K-pop songs have conversations and are apostrophes, but Shaylin talks specifically about talking about quote unquote nothing. Like in Virtual Angel, they can be rather explicit. There are lines like, "That's a heartbreak," "Feelings like love," "Unbelievable," "I was so happy I cried," "Happiness is through the line, I'll love you even more." All of this is very explicit, but Shaylin also talks about keeping the scene active and being implicit in this way, and they call it creating symbolic vehicles. That's a term that they use that I really like. But there are lines in Virtual Angel like, "I'll be there for you when your wings break," "To you I'm a virtual angel with the rising moon, my heart is complete, I'm your angel. When I smile once and everything falls, just like once I met you, I found my instincts. The sun will never win against me, darkness gives me strength even more. When I open my eyes at last, please save me, savior, let me fly to your Eden." There's a lot going on here. And they are saying things, they're not just talking about action, but it's not the direct focus of the line. And so it is, like I said, implicit. Another tip from Shaylin is to utilize secrets, which I think could constitute another symbolic vehicle. Characters have their secrets, and it influences how they interact with other characters, how they interact with their surroundings, how they interact with language. And I think that that is present in Virtual Angel. For example, there is the line, "Within me lies the tales of a hidden secret." There you go. As well as, "I've been hiding my powers all along." Knowing that they have this secret influences the way that they go about everything, which you will see with another tip. information with consequences. In Virtual Angel, there is the line, "Truthfully, tears don't flow for me to avoid getting hurt, a reality with hidden powers." They provide us with information. They inform us of the consequences of that information, and having that information has consequences on us, how we feel. Shaylin also says that imagery is a good way of providing subtext, specifically focusing on it without over explaining things. And in Virtual Angel, there is in the chorus, "In my frozen heart, newly bloomed flowers, what I've hidden beneath the ice, my frozen feelings for you, the sin of swallowing up the sun." All of this is beautiful imagery. It's not full sentences. It's not really saying anything directly. It's just there and providing you with a feeling, which is a lot of what subtext is, a feeling that influences how you react to things. We recently talked about the different plot lines that pretty much every story needs, and one thing that we talked about was the external plot line, which is sort of the action going on. Like I was talking about before, action is necessary in most stories. However, subtext is kind of getting at the other two plot lines, the internal and the interpersonal. And for most people, this is why they enjoy interacting with content, why they enjoy media in general, because it gets to the internal and interpersonal parts of them. And I think that Virtual Angel is a really cool example of how to utilize language in an effective way that really says a lot without saying necessarily anything. um and maybe that is the purpose of poetry. Maybe that's the purpose of K-pop, because it's not prose. It's not going to be detailing this intense storyline, with a heavy plot and all of these intricate elements. I mean, it is intricate, but it's intricate in a different way. And I think it's intricate in a fascinating way. That's how I feel about K-pop. I think it's very fascinating, and I think that a lot of people don't take the time to consider all of the ways that it is fascinating. So I really appreciate people who, I mean, obviously I appreciate people who watch these videos, but even if you don't watch these videos, just people who analyze K-pop and people who analyze K-pop and try really hard to give it the respect that I think it deserves is really a cool thing, in my opinion, as someone who gets a lot of shit from people in my life about looking at K-pop and thinking that it's something deeper. I think that it's really cool that there are people online who look at it in a similar way that I do, or in a dissimilar way, but they give it care. I like that. So, I mean, I'm not saying that Shaylin cares about K-pop, because I have no idea. I'm not speaking for Shaylin, but I think all of this is very cool. So, thank you for watching. I hope that this made some sense, and I'll hopefully see you in the near future. Bye.